This is Colin O'Keefe for LXPN TV. The Bureau of Land Management recently released its updated rules for hydraulic fracturing on federal and Indian lands. This, of course, does not include regulations for fracking on private lands, but it's still seen quite a bit of attention. Joining me to explain the rule and share his thoughts on it is Wayne D'Angelo of Kelley, Drye, an author on their blog, the Fracking Insider. Wayne, first, can you give us some context on the BLM's updated fracking rule? What does it do, and what land or operations does it impact?
Well, it's a good question. I'll start with what it impacts. BLM oversees 700 million acres of federal land, and on top of that, an additional 56 million acres of subsurface Indian rights. 36 million of those acres are currently under oil and gas development. They estimate that upwards of 90% of all new wells on federal land are going to be hydraulically fractured, and that goes to about 3,400 wells per year. So that's the scope. It's very significant. What does it do? Well, it further regulates hydraulic fracturing on federal land, and I think this is an important point, one that's sort of been lost on in the media, but a point that needs to be made. Hydraulic fracturing is regulated on federal land as we speak. There have been regulations in place since 1982. Further, states regulate the land within their jurisdiction. That includes federal land. So there are the existing state hydraulic fracturing regulations cover federal land within the states. And further, there are drilling regulations in the states. Now, this is an issue of nomenclature, which has really been lost in the mainstream media, and that's, hydraulic fracturing is a snapshot in time, from a matter of days to a matter of weeks, wherein the well is stimulated, the shale or the other impermeable structure is fractured. This is over a 40-year life of a well. These regulations are really focused on that snapshot in time. There are other aspects of drilling are regulated currently robustly under federal law. So what they do is, the rule does a number of things, proposed rule rather. Detailed information reporting pre-fracture and post-fracture, reporting detailed information about the chemical constituents of the hydraulic fracturing fluid, volumes, depths of use, etc. Mechanical integrity testing for 100% of the wells. That's pressure testing to make sure that the pipe can handle the pressure that is used to fracture the formation. Management of wastewater and flowback water. Cementing to isolate the pipe and the materials coming up the pipe from aquifers. Numerous record-keeping and reporting requirements. It's a fairly robust rule.
So second, what reaction have you seen to this new rule? In your post on the matter, you had some pointed opinions on why this was done and the response to it. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Well, yeah. First of all, for clarification, there's been two proposed rules. First one was in 2012, May of 2012, and then BLM took 177,000 comments on this thing. They went back to the drawing board and they reproposed the rule, and that was just last week. So in reproposing that rule, they added some additional flexibilities to the oil and gas industry. And there are those in the environmental movement who have characterized these additional flexibilities as a giveaway to the oil and gas industry, as a gift to the oil and gas industry. And really, nothing could be further from the truth. The context is important here, right? So this is a regulation of hydraulic fracturing. Hydraulic fracturing in 60 years and 1.2 million wells has never been demonstrated to have caused groundwater contamination. BLM acknowledges this. The administrator of EPA acknowledged this. The head of Secretary of Energy has acknowledged this, along with state regulators. So this is a rule that, by BLM's numbers, which are probably a massive underestimation, it's going to cost industry between $12 and $20 million a year. And for what? To protect against an instance which has not happened in 60 years and 1.2 million wells, and there's no lack of study for these impacts. So for those that say that this is this rule is a giveaway to the oil and gas industry. It's just simply not credible. This rule, the fact that it exists at all to, as BLM says, to address things like public perception and public concerns. These are they're valid things to consider, but these are not the bases on which you base an expensive rulemaking on an industry. So context is important.
Absolutely. The regulation of hydraulic fracturing continues to be an interesting subject to watch as it's receiving a lot of negative attention, whether that's fair or not. Once again, that was Wayne DeAngelo of Kelley Drye. For more of his insight on this new rule and hydraulic fracturing in general, be sure to visit frackinginsider.com. And for commentary from the entirety of the LexBlog network, just go to lxbn.com, search hydraulic fracturing, and then click on that tag right there for a section with curated commentary from all of the LexBlog network's authors on that practice. Thanks for joining me today, Wayne.
Thanks, Colin. Good to talk to you again.